Hi, in this video we're going to solve the equation 5 equals n plus 2, and we're going to solve it with algebra tiles and with written algebra. And one thing I'm going to focus on in this video is showing you a way to record the work that you do with algebra tiles. If you want to communicate what you've done to somebody else, I mean, maybe you could send them a video, but if you need to write it down, I'll show you a way that I think is pretty clear about how to write the work down that you're doing. Alright, so before we start, I've got a key here. My algebra tiles, on one side, they're kind of beige and green, depending on whether we're talking about my variable tile or my unit tile. So this is the positive side, and my red side is negative. But I don't have a marker that color. So what I'm using is, for when I'm writing, I'm going to use green for positive and red for negative. And my algebra tiles will have the beige and the green for positive. Now in this case, actually everything we have is positive. But in lots of equations we'll have positives and negatives both, and we'll need to be clear about what we're doing. So to start off, we'll represent this with our algebra tiles. And I'll show you this one little change I'm going to make to how I sometimes do it. So we've got 5 on one side. I've got this little balance scale as a reminder to myself. We need to keep these two sides the same. So anything we do to one side, we'll do to the other as well. So that's 5 on one side. On the right side I have n plus 2, so I'll use one of my positive variable tiles and 2 positive unit tiles. Now I think that right now, because I've tried to squeeze so much onto the screen, this might look a little bit squished together. I'm just going to add a dotted little line down here, just to make sure that, to visually separate this side of my scale from this side of my scale. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to do several steps to the equation, and we'll do them first with the tiles themselves, and then we'll draw what we did, and then we'll write down what we did. Alright, so I think we're ready to draw now. Everything's positive here, so I only need my green marker. So my first side, I'll draw 5 little squares. If you don't have different colors, or if you just prefer, sometimes instead of using colors, what I do is I put little plus signs inside them. Or you can make your key so that one side, just empty is positive or negative and colored in is the other. As long as you write it down in your key, what you're doing, then pretty much anything is fine. Okay, so we've got 5, and on the other side we have an m plus 2. I think I'm going to draw the n just the long way because it'll help me save space for no really important reason. And then to separate my sides when in my drawings, instead of drawing a little scale every time, I'm going to use a diagonal line as an equal sign. Okay, just like I use the dotted line over here. Okay. Alright, and now we need to write that down. So this is easy, I'll just copy the equation that we had. 5 is equal to, or is the same as, n plus 2. Alright. Now our goal when we solve an equation is to get the variable all alone, to know what the value of the variable is. So we want to know what value of n would make it true that 5 is the same as n plus 2. And you can probably solve this in your head, but if you learn to represent it both with the tiles and with the written algebra, then you'll be able to solve equations that are a lot harder than this one. So what we're going to do, we'd like to just get n over here, so we can take away 2 from both sides. Now what I strongly recommend when you're doing this with tiles is, if possible, you take away from both sides at the same time. Because otherwise, especially when things get complicated, people kind of sometimes forget to do one side or the other. Alright, there we go. We took that away. Now we need to draw that. Now I would actually, what we're going to draw is what we have. We try to make this picture look like an action. Okay, so we're going to first copy what we had. And then what I'm going to do to show what we did, we took 2 away. I'm going to circle 2 on each side. And I'm just going to draw little arrows to show that we got rid of them. Okay. Now we're going to write the same. So first we draw what we have, and the next picture is what we did. So it's going to be the same with the algebra. We'll draw what we have. And now we're going to write what we did. Just thinking about whether I should change colors here. I think I've got enough colors going on meaning different things that this time I won't change colors. Sometimes I like to write my action in a different color. Okay, so we subtracted 2 from both sides. So I'm going to write that down. We subtracted 2 and we subtracted 2. Maybe what I'll do is just underline what we did. That's the new thing there. All right. And now with our algebra tiles, we're finished. We don't need to do anything else there. But for our drawing and for our equation, we should write down what we've got. So what we have, what we do, and then the next line is what you have. And if you have several steps to do in your equation, you'll draw what you did and what you had and what you did and so on. So now we've got 3 unit tiles over on the left, and we have one variable tile on the right. So here we had 5 subtract 2, which was this, and now we're left with 3. So over here as well we have 3. And we had n plus 2 take away 2, which leaves us, of course, with n. So there's our solution. I think it's a nice touch maybe if we go back to our pictures here and just number them. And as you look at your page, try to make sure that the pictures don't run into each other too much. Sometimes if you try to squeeze a lot onto one page, they do. Maybe if you think that they are a little bit, you could add some dotted lines or something, just to separate each step from the next step. All right, and then we'll do a quick check, just to make sure. So I'll copy the equation, 5 equals n plus 2. And what I want to know is 5 the same as 3 plus 2. So that's 5. 3 plus 2 is also 5. Is 5 the same as 5? Yes, of course it is. So that tells us that 3 equals n is a solution to the equation 5 equals n plus 2. All right, so the most important thing when you're drawing your algebra tiles is to just try to be real clear about what's happening. If you're not sure, a suggestion I'd have is often it helps if you draw an extra picture. Stop what you're doing, draw another picture down below. All right, good luck.